suppose the journey, I'm trying to think if there's necessarily, all right, that's a big question. I suppose, well, I'll talk about the battle rap. I think it came about through, I've always made hip-hop and written lyrics, and came across what battle rap was in the UK in like early 2000, I guess 2011. I think I came across battle rap, and in its format of 3 rounds, mostly pre-written, on a league called Don't Flop, and it was just very impressive and entertaining. And you had all kinds of performers from different backgrounds, rappers, hip-hop artists, grime artists, comedians, straight battle rappers, who were each bringing a different style and approach. And so that kind of captured me. I thought, let's give this a go. And I applied for a tryout. Had a tryout in 2012, January, at the Fiddler's Elbow in
Camden.
Camden, that's right, yeah. And had a good showing in my tryout, and that led then to being part of that scene for, I guess, about 5 years. I was fully involved battling, and battling in the UK, in America, in Germany, elsewhere. And through that process, I think I certainly became a better writer. It really forces you to hone your writing, because you're getting such specific and immediate feedback when you perform in battle rapping, especially in a 360 pit, and very honest feedback in general. I think people are gonna, you know, if your line's not great, it's not gonna get a reaction normally, and so that helps you to learn how to edit and how to think about the impact of every line. And so, yeah, in terms of my battle rap career, I'm not saying it's over though. I'm not retired. I'm thinking about coming back for 1 or 2 more battles. But I'm certainly grateful for that whole experience and journey, and what it forced me to improve on as a writer in particular.
So the door is not quite closed on that chapter.
No, I think there's still it's been 5 years since I battled, but I still keep in tabs with the scene, watch a battle here and there, and there's a part of me that is excited by the prospect of writing some more battle bars and deconstructing someone and just having the fun, and you know, as a performing experience is really fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not choking.
Would love to see a rematch between you and Bamalam, who you lost to.
Okay, yeah.
I would have given it to you.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. You know, I haven't even watched that back, to be honest. I think from what I remember, that was maybe my 4th, 5th battle. I'd been part of a tournament for the best newcomers. There was 8 of us, and got to the final of that. The winner was going to get an international battle, and Bamalam was a great battler as well. And I think I made the mistake of making my writing too. It sounds a bit like I'm saying it's too good, but it's too intricate, and it wasn't really connecting enough with people present. I think I got too into like all these hidden sort of metaphors and wordplay schemes that maybe weren't instantly accessible to people in the room. And that's something then that was a learning process, whereas Bamalam's materials were quite, you know, impactful in the room, and that certainly taught me a lesson moving forward. And I think after that battle, I definitely leveled up, I think, into the next ones. But a rematch with Bam, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's up for battling anymore. He's sort of hasn't been battling for longer than me. But I could seek him out, maybe, seek it and right that wrong.
So who would you most like to schedule and queue up in the crosshairs, so to speak?
It's difficult to know, really.
No one spring to mind.
Not really. I mean, there's battlers who are great battlers like Tony D, but no one really wants to battle Tony D necessarily because he is that good. Soul as well, top battlers. For my first battle back, I wouldn't want to battle someone of that caliber probably. I want to have a bit more of a fun battle back into it. Definitely a part of me would enjoy the challenge of battling the Tony D's and Souls. The ones from that sort of caliber who I didn't battle before. Unanimous is another one. Because he's such a he's
a fan favorite.
Yeah, and
sure.
He's a force of nature. He's one of the best performers. So that'll be an interesting juxtaposition of his style with my sort of more laconic approach. So yeah, I haven't got anyone in mind in particular, but whoever does get into my crosshairs, I will take them seriously.
What kind of advice would you give to an young aspiring battle rapper who probably has the raw talent, but is just petrified of getting up there on the mic under the spotlights with quite a scathingly critical audience?
I would say don't be put off. In the first place, if it doesn't go well, don't be put off. There's loads of battlers who have choked, and even early on in their career, but battle rap will give you a second chance. Obviously, if you choke again, you're going to run out of chances, but don't worry too much. Make sure that you know your material inside out, especially for your first battle. So that's one less thing to worry about. And you can just worry about how you're performing it and getting your material out. Because even if it doesn't go off in the room, you get a second chance on YouTube. People might say, actually, people sleeping on that line there. People sleep on this. Maybe run your bars by someone you trust in the scene. See what they think.
And there's other people that can spot talent and help you nurture that, even if you do flop in one event. Kind of like with Harry Kane, he didn't work out at Arsenal. He went to Tottenham, and suddenly he's like England's greatest goal scorer in many years.
100%. And you're going to learn something from battle rapping. You're going to learn something about yourself, about what maybe are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Because you're in at the deep end and you're having to perform and compete in a very honest environment. So take that as a valuable tool to then be able to go back and say, okay, that was interesting. Then even if it didn't go the way you wanted, you could say, okay, now I've got a clearer vision of what aspects of my writing, what aspects of my performance need to improve, are there things I need to bring in? Do I need to bring some humour, some this or that? So yeah, I just, aspiring battle rappers, just have a go. Maybe start off, if you're very nervous, maybe battle your family member first, maybe battle, some like your friend. See if you can take down, because if you're losing to your family members or friends in battle rappers when you got cornered in the kitchen or something, then maybe you're not quite ready for the big leagues. So maybe do that first. It's solid advice.
Well, I hope we do see you back on the rap battlefield. That would be awesome to see.
Yeah, I think I'll be back definitely for at least one, maybe two. Just I want to have fun. Want to write some bars for people and see if I can level up. It's been 5 years, been away, come back with a beard. So see the next
more
level.
Knowledge,
Ogmios.
more wisdom.
Exactly. Yeah. If that translates.
And how's your rap career going? Any projects in the pipeline? Any new albums?
I've been working on an Ogmios album produced by Palmer Eldritch from Inner Peace Records. It's going to be called Mean Streets. So it's involving some of the driving content I've been making. And so yeah, basically a hip hop album. That'll be hopefully come out later this year. Working on another Koto Dharma album with Tang the Pilgrim. The last album came out 2017, I think, and was called Glyphs. This one's going to be called Myths, and it's similar sort of philosophical hip hop produced by Tang the Pilgrim, and that's going to be good too. So watch out for those.
Awesome. Only 10 minutes. Wow, plenty of time. Maybe we can fast forward a few years to your more recent project. So, Zen School of Motoring, tell us about that. How did that all come together?
That came about just through an interest in driving and becoming a better driver. So just something I think about. About my own performance, I guess, when I'm moving around. Am I being a good driver? Certain situations, I think, what was the right thing to do there? Then I go and look on YouTube at dash cam compilations or this or that, and try and think, okay. And then the idea came to me that I could create my own sort of dash cam journeys that would be more relaxing than the ones you see on YouTube, and would also be instructional as well, and a reflection of what I experience when I'm in the flow state, maneuvering myself.
I must say, I mean, you're a pretty chilled guy, pretty zen. People say I'm quite chilled, but when it comes to driving in London traffic, there's nothing that really can aggravate me more than like another driver really getting in my face and cutting me up or something. How do you maintain that zen calm in such situations?
It's tough, but I think part of it is a change of perspective in terms of what my mission is when I'm out on the roads. I'm imbuing the whole thing with a sort of as a sort of practice that is elevating me as well to higher levels of human behavior and consciousness. As I see it, as when I go out on the roads, it's not just me getting from A to B. I can also use it as as someone might use a martial art to improve themselves, to learn a skill, to understand themselves and others. And so a situation can arise and you start to take it less personal, and you start to have a bit more understanding of the possibilities about why other people have done it. Obviously, you're still going to come across nutters, and it doesn't mean you're totally passive, but that you are thinking about what is the solution to this overall. And if the solution is just to accept and wait, that is the solution sometimes. Yeah, and I'm choosing not to get drawn into other people's drama on the roads. I think a lot of people are using the roads and traffic and situations that arise to project any lingering anger or gripes they have with the world or themselves, and it's an opportunity for them to let loose. And if you allow that to draw you in, then you're sort of just taking the bait. You're taking a bait for someone, and there's no need. There's no need. You both end up losing. So many situations just melt away when you approach them with love and with understanding, and you judo flip their anger into something different. Or like, why would you want, if someone came up to you and said, will you hold this with me? And it's just a bowl full of hate and anger. You're not gonna hold it with them. You say, it's okay. Why don't you put it over there and then come and talk to me?
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, I think you don't. It's amazing how people get drawn into road rage. You know, they wouldn't even do it probably in their normal everyday life, but behind cars, people are suddenly jumping out of their car to fight someone. Crazy. You don't even know who they are. What could happen to you? What could happen to them? It's ludicrous. Over what? Someone's poor driving.
This is what one would call a crime of passion, just spontaneous in the moment, fit of rage.
Yeah.
Would you say there's any particular things you've done in life that have made you kind of more calm than the average person? So we had a chat that you worked for many years as a PE teacher in very, very rough schools full of violent youths, some that carried knives, and you really had to diffuse a lot of tough situations there. Have you learned how to maintain calm, would you say, from those kind of experiences?
It definitely taught me working in a pupil referral unit, for example, I had to reach a new level of patience that I didn't have before, or I didn't know I had, because you have to arrive with a whole new level of understanding for what some of people are going through, and if you immediately react in a certain way, it's just going to escalate the situation. So I guess it did help teach me a whole new set of conflict resolution skills, to say the least. And I'm glad I had that experience, for sure. And that really cool, yeah.
So when I first met you, it was actually we put on like a joint house party because we were both our birthdays are like within a few days of each other. And I remember I was like totally rat-ass drunk. There's a lot of weed smoking going around, and you were totally sober. You don't touch any substances.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think I was probably drinking wine that night, I think.
I remember you carrying a bottle of water the whole night. I distinctly remember.
I definitely had a bit to drink on that night.
Okay. It was a long time ago.
Or maybe I seemed sober.
Okay.
But I was sober for quite a while, leading up to that. Mm-hmm. When I was like raw vegan as well, that was something, and I had a very pure mindset, and so wasn't eating anything cooked, let alone drinking alcohol.
Nice.
But that was a good night. We actually had a vigilante neighbourhood watch come round the next morning to have a go at us. So that showed that was a good party. Yeah, they actually wanted to fight me. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were super aggressive. But obviously, I diffused the situation before I was hung up and quartered by 5 angry middle-class neighbours. But yeah, that was a good party. You were DJing as well, huh? Brought your decks
for a little bit, drum and bass, a bit of jungle. Yeah. Brings back memories, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember, like, we had a proper chat. Yeah. So we really connected at the party, and I was like, we got to meet up one-to-one, had a chat about this and that. And I came over and we started getting into philosophy and consciousness and the nature of reality, and you pulled up a book off your shelf, Alan Watts' The Way of Zen.
Yeah.
And he said it was like very influential. You read it when you were young, and really, I guess it really influenced your trajectory in life in a way. The Zen approach.
Yeah.
Is it still relevant to you as much now to you as it was back then, would you say?
I think so. I think that book and that time in my life, my early 20s, when I first got that book, and it was a whole paradigm shift for me to realise there's another way of understanding what reality is, and another way of experiencing the world. And when I got that book, I used to live with a couple of my friends, and we were like stoner house. And for about 2 months, they didn't see me at all because I was in my room meditating and reading this book. It was that kind of like, I stopped smoking weed. I was like, ah, and it just, coming out of schooling as well, where you're just taught everything in a certain way, and it was such a release for my mind to realize there's another way of looking at things, and not just that, but another way that makes sense to me. And so yeah, through that first book, Alan Watts' Way Zen, and then reading other Zen authors, and then you're going back to more original Zen writers, that sort of was the foundation, I think, for me in my life moving forward, with a certain attitude towards what I think reality is and how I'm gonna interact and understand the world and seek wisdom. So yeah, it started from there, definitely. Big start, and the meditation.
I'll never forget a line from one of your battle raps. You said something like, "I'm a conscious rapper."
Yeah.
You're a unconscious rapper.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck. You've been kind of labelled a bit like a conscious rapper because your approach and your philosophical stances. And what is consciousness to you?
I suppose to me it's just experience. It's just our human experience, how we experience it is behind everything. It is what exists behind our thoughts, and all of that is part of consciousness, but fundamentally I think consciousness is everything, and it is what we experience, and there's not much more to it than that, in a way, probably.
Would you say that consciousness does exist outside of a living organism?
I think so. Yeah. I think everything is one thing, and that thing is whatever consciousness is. That is our reality, and everything that we experience are permutations and ripples of that reality.
So I just had a chat with my older brother earlier today, and he's become Orthodox Jewish in recent years. So my dad's Jewish, my mum's Christian. I'm confused. And yeah, so he's gone down the path of Judaism, and the way he often refers to God is like there's a separation between ourselves and God, and there's the heaven and hell. And I guess I have more of a Vedic, from India, the Vedic philosophical stance that there's one God, and we're all like derived from that singular God consciousness, and in a way it's like we're living in a reality that God is just dreaming up. So it's not like reality and the whole universe is a giant machine, not at all. It's more like just a dream that God is having, where all just derive one facet of an infinite gem with all these different facets reflecting at different angles, and we're just one snippet of that entire consciousness, which is not an original idea. I mean, it goes back probably till the dawn of mankind. Won't surprise me, but it's certainly prominent in Hinduism and many other religions and spiritual traditions. And I was really on the path of really getting under the skin of what consciousness is and reality, and really hitting the science books really hard and meeting all these great minds and in science and philosophy. And then a friend said to me, instead of studying consciousness, don't you think we should just try and be conscious? And then it struck me, I was so in my head, so onto this idea of cracking the consciousness problem, that I was so unaware of little things here and there, like neglecting of family and girlfriend and just little things, not being conscious, not being present, always chasing like the ultimate questions. And I must say, since having a son, my first child 3 years ago, it just, everything turned upside down, and I let go of all these wild dreams and was just so much more present being a family man, because babies, when they're born, they're fully present. There is no ego. I think the ego doesn't really enter a child until they're maybe 5, 6, in the kind of format that we refer to of this ego anyway. So we got chatting about, just before coming out here to Hackney Marshes, we got chatting about who I think is personally one of my favourite speakers and writers about consciousness, Bernardo Castro. And he has a very cutting edge take on what reality and consciousness is. And what I do like about him is that he's totally independent. He's not associated with any institution or academia.
And it's going on what you're just saying. It's interesting. You were saying like we're a part of consciousness, and I feel like we're simultaneously we have this personalized conscious experience, and we are everything, and we experience that like when we meditate and we allow our thoughts and labels to dissipate somewhat. We can access that state of being that understands that truth that we are everything. And so it's difficult for us on our human linguistic level often to break apart some of that into concepts. But Bernardo Castro is sort of fulfilling a role and the purpose in his life to be someone that can articulate in the most rational and scientific way why consciousness is fundamental. And so it's very inspiring, and he's very committed, and he's very thorough.
And I feel like the language and terminologies he uses is really pushing the boundaries of what can be accepted in science and academia, as opposed to beyond the boundary of what people would just be shouting out. He's really pushing that boundary and encompassing more spiritual concepts without getting too wishy-washy and whimsical.
Definitely, and he will qualify moments when he's going to go, if he might go slightly wishy-washy, he puts a flag up, says, all right, I'm going to do that. This is maybe more of an intuition or an inference that of what this might be about. Because it's possible that for human beings to be able to talk about a lot of these ideas, we may have to go through some kind of evolution of language, or because a lot of the realities might transcend our concepts, like our concept of what is finite and what is infinite, our concept of what is nothing. They might have no bearing to ultimate reality. It might be a joke to ultimate reality, those kind of ideas, but we thinking it because we're having as like Bernardo Castro describes it as a disassociation. So the reason we are able to feel separate is because we're having a dissociation of consciousness to where we can experience a personalized consciousness that can look on itself. He draws the analogy of people who suffer from multiple personality disorders where one place, their consciousness can be split into different centers that are not aware of each other. Same way I'm not aware of at the minute of on this level of other people's consciousness, but fundamentally I am.
Mm-hmm. So in a way you're saying it's like we all wear masks in certain situations. Like if you go for a job interview, you're going to try and be as professional as possible, and you're not going to show your emotional side as much, or how you act when you're down the pub watching a football match kind of thing. And him saying that multiple personality disorder, we have this fragmented consciousness and each is not aware of the other existing.
Well, I think he just uses it strictly to give an analogy for how we might be having a separate conscious experience, or a conscious experience that feels separate when we are all one consciousness. So I think he's purely using it in that sense to say there's a kind of mechanism that we know of on the human level where people can have multiple personalities which can occupy the same conscious location.
Mm-hmm.
So we, because I do think we find clues. There's like clues, recursive sort of clues in the world that indicate maybe what reality is on different levels, and he's sort of pointing to one there of a phenomenon we know about, and that we can say, okay, maybe that works on that sort of thing. Might be how it's being played out on this other fractal level of reality. That explains why we can feel separate, essentially.
I'm reminded of a conversation I had with Bernardo several years back where I questioned him on psychedelics and how what kind of a glimpse they give on the nature of consciousness, and his answer was quite thought-provoking. So I think we all know that I've had a lot of experience with psychedelics. I've always been trying to get you to attend one of our ceremonies.
Too scared, yeah.
Never quite comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So when I questioned him about psychedelics, he said that psychedelics can, so referring back to the fact that he believes we're singular, we're like threads of consciousness from a singular source, call it God, call it cosmic consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And he said that psychedelics make the barriers between us more porous, and that can explain things like shared hallucinations and telepathy, which we don't really experience in everyday life, but in non-ordinary states, like on psychedelics or when people are on their deathbed, their consciousness is already halfway out of their body, or this cavity, energy field, whatever you want to call it, and they can experience things that are beyond everyday reality. So that is his take on it, and I found that really interesting.
Yeah. I guess one thing he heard him discuss as well is the fact that brain scans of people, say, taking magic mushrooms, show a decrease in brain activity, whereas you might have thought there would be an increase because it's sort of a more peak experience, there's more stuff going on. But the fact that there's a decrease is maybe pointing to the fact that some of the structures that are stopping you from experiencing everything that's going on are being dampened down and allowing you then to see through, to see some of that. And it kind of goes against what materialists would say, that consciousness is just coming out of, it's just occurring because of all the electric activity of your brain.
Yeah.
There should be more of that if we're having
So I think what you're trying to say is
Heightens.
psychedelics, they kind of reduce the filtration effect of conditioning on our brains.
Maybe, I mean, I
So
believe
the
that's
brain
what he
is
was
like
saying, yeah.
the brain is like a filter of consciousness, and as we grow older, things get much easier because we're conditioned into doing them in the most efficient way possible. And so we can do things effortlessly, like ride a bike. Whereas like
Yeah.
a 3-year-old, my son is trying to learn to ride a bike now, but his
Yeah.
brain is almost fully open like a baby.
Yeah,
And he hasn't had the learning to add the conditioning filters in his brain yet. So psychedelics can remove them and open us up to all sorts of possibilities, and some which can be quite harrowing, and like a bad trip is not a funny experience. But I don't really believe in bad trips. I think they happen because we have unresolved trauma, and it can be a really hellish experience. But I feel like we're gonna face our demons one day. Might as well be sooner rather than later, and rather than on your deathbed, where suddenly all this regret is gonna precipitate, and you're gonna regret not forgiving a loved one or friend or whatnot.
yeah. You've got to process it and allow it to come out in a controlled way. If otherwise, it's going to come out in neuroses or other ways, unprocessed issues and trauma need to be looked at, need to be brought into the light, so that we don't suffer from the effects of suppression of our fuller selves and what we have to go through as humans sometimes.
So, okay, touching back on trauma, everyone has trauma. I mean, if you read the works of Stan Grof, he says we're born with trauma because the birthing experience is extremely traumatic. I mean, our heads are crushed to like something the size of a plum as we pass through the birth canal. Or if you're cesarean, it means that's being pulled out into, like, you have to breathe for yourself and etc. And it's quite traumatic it's literally pulled from one extremely different reality where you're like cushioned in comfort with a constant drip feed of food and air and water to the world at large. So he claims that we're born with the original trauma being birth, and then obviously as we go on in life, other things compound that. Now, I mean, I've been really interested in psychedelics as they have they're almost a sure way to really kind of weed out the trauma and analyze it head on. And these are things that you might never realize are within you, causing you all kinds of behavioral problems or physical ailments. And in the psychedelic experience, they can manifest as anything from like a demonic entity that you see as a real life demon, as real as you are to me now. But it could just be something that happened to you when you were a kid that you didn't want to face. And I mean, I even get scared now when I go up to drink a cup of ayahuasca. I still get scared. I've drank many, many cups. If there's not fear, then it's not worth doing, in my opinion. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you have never tried a psychedelic?
I've done a bit of, like a small amount of mushrooms. Microdose was the last thing I did of mushrooms a few years ago. Before that, the most psychedelic experience I had was when I was at school, and back when I was smoking weed a lot, and I had all this hash, and just during the lesson one day I was just eating all this hash, and it hit me like later on, and it was just it was psychedelic. It was like I was looking at trees and just seeing every leaf at the same time, and I was seeing different faces on different people's heads. So that was, and it took me a few days to get over it.
Okay.
And I was just a mess in a way. It was amazing, but it was also like,
You weren't very functional.
yeah. So I suppose that was, I'd say the most, and it was interesting through hash.
Can you maybe describe some other techniques that you use to really reach an altered state of consciousness where you can tap into more wisdom and greater inner truths?
I mean, these days, the main outlets for me, I think, are meditation, and also, I do think dream work is a place where I could access deeper parts of myself and process that and analyze that in almost a therapeutic way. So if I have a dream that feels like a particularly symbolic dream and a message, I will, use a method to break it down, and then I do something to ritualize whatever understanding I reach of that dream into my waking reality. So I do something to ritualize my understanding of that dream, which I think, as you're saying, I think everything relates to what is going on in our wider selves. And I think that's the same with dreams, that everything I dream represents a part of ourselves and some kind of inner dynamic that sometimes we're not aware of on our waking conscious level that is going on and needs resolving. And the dream can be a way of looking into yourself to a deeper level that you can't on a day-to-day basis sometimes, and find hidden truths about ourselves and find ways forward.
Do you keep a dream diary? How do you record it?
I do, yeah. I have a dream journal, and I've written. I don't have symbolic dreams all the time. It might be, once every couple months or once every few months. I'll write it down and I'll put the date, and I'll just write the dream as soon as I can, so I've got all the details, and then I'll write each symbol that there was in the dream, and then I'll write my personal associations with that symbol. What is it that really represents for me? Or what is that person in my life? Is that person, do I see them as a warrior? Or do I see them as a, what are they representing? And then using those clues and putting those symbols together and looking at the overall dynamic of what's going on in my life, I could come to an understanding of what the message of the dream is. And I'm not always successful. I'm not going to come to an understanding of the dream where I haven't got there, because I will know when I get it, because it will resonate and I'll feel like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And so those dreams, then I would take that learning I've had from the dream and do something to ritualize it in some way with an action in my day-to-day life, and that sort of symbolically completes that lesson and that journey of introspection, and brings it into everyday sort of reality.
And how might you ritualize? What kind of rituals are you performing to help integrate your dream learnings?
It could be anything really, something related to what the dream was. I mean, I actually grew a beard. Before I grew this beard, I grew a beard I didn't shave for a couple months, because a beard was symbolic. There was a symbolism of beards in the dream. And so that was, once I come to understanding, that felt right for that dream. I didn't shave for 2 months to ritualize that and to give it the due respect it deserved. But it could be something as simple as taking a walk somewhere that was in the dream, or drawing something, or burying something, or an action, or could be anything, something that you can do in your everyday life that ritualizes your understanding. And that's, we have a lack of rituals in our lives these days, and people are crying out for that. And that's part of why everyone acts out often. It's because they need some kind of heightened situation to get all of this out. And it becomes too wild and uncontrolled in that sense. But people, we've had history of using psychedelics or using ceremony or using our dreams, stories as an outlet for our inner understanding who we are and what's going on. That's kind of, lost these days in modern society.
Especially since the advent of the digital age.
Yeah, 100%.
Was really lost touch with old methods for healing and through working through psychological difficulties, because I guess science and technology are really at the forefront of what we largely consider as advancing humanity. But are we as happy as the ancient Egyptians were many thousands of years ago?
I think we've lost a lot, and that's what we worship technology essentially in modern society. That we have the idea that technological advancement is always good, and the truth is that technology gives you something and takes away something. But we don't want to look at what's been taken away. Going back to the telegram. The telegram gave you the opportunity to know what was going on in a completely different place. You could find out some trivia about what's going on there. But it also took away a little bit of attention from your local place in a simple way. And then gradually that's become the case where TV and then etc. giving you something, but it's taken something away that before it's too late, we don't know the effects of in society. We just run these experiments and then try and keep finding new technological ways out of it or hacks to get out of it. And really society's not even properly looking at what the implications are of what we've turned our lives into.
Now, I sat with satsang with Muji, who we know is known as the Brixton Buddha, and he was taught in the spiritual teachings under Papaji, who himself was a disciple of Ramana Maharshi. And Muji says that the disease of modern times is the lack of inner space. That's really quite a simplification, but how do you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, it depends what inner space.
That we're always in a rush. We're always in like an agenda mode here. And I mean, talking from personal experience, when I have a huge list of things to do, and when I'm in work mode, 9 to 5 working and like stressed, and I'm rushing, I don't breathe properly. Really, I noticed. Don't stop to breathe. And all kinds of health issues stem from the constant rushing, because there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look.
Definitely. And when we're so distracted, we devalue everything in our life. We devalue the present moment, and we don't give it the regard and respect. Whereas doing something fully with your whole being is giving due respect to life and reality, and it comes with then a sense of gratitude. A gratitude for an experience that is amazing often. And even mundane things, we can be we can cultivate a mindset of, and this is, you know, a big part of Zen. The activity of Zen is very, you know, Zen in a way is very earthy. It's about reality, but it's about the everyday. It's about washing the pots, you know, and doing it with your full being and being present. And that's kind of what I was trying to do with the driving, is like to say this is actually beautiful to be able to travel around. And I'm humble and grateful, and you know, it's like I understand that driving a car is giving something away and taking something away. So I'm going to give it the due respect it deserves. I'm not going to just treat it as an inconvenience. This is like crazy that we can have this machine and move around at will. And it's,
Have you ever been there?
and it's just gratitude for life. And we're just continuously removing ourselves from the present moment. For what?
Yeah.
Some other moment that we're going to be distracted in. People are distracting themselves from driving. You know, people are watching TV while we look at a smartphone, while we got a laptop. It's
It's
unhealthy.
even worse now that we have the autopilot cars,
Yeah.
automatic, the Teslas that can drive themselves.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust one personally.
No, me neither.
Especially falling asleep at
Yeah.
the wheel and letting it.
Well, we're becoming,
thanks.
you know, we're also becoming, you know, we're doing ourselves out of skills, doing ourselves out of autonomy in this society. We're becoming too specialised in many ways, and whereas we should, I believe in striving to be more of a generalist, being able to master a range of things as a human being and better in yourself. And
Where's that sunset?
yeah, if we're just becoming passive consumers, we're not having the full human experience, I think.
Possible roads. Only roads.
So I'm going back to the topic of Zen. I used to really hold Buddhist monks and sadhus, like the ultimate ascetics. Is it pronounced ascetics?
Yeah, ascetics.
Ascetics, as almost like saints, and what I part of me really aspired to be like. But if we were all like super Zen and 24/7, then part of me feels like it's so much easier for like tyrants to get into office and to really get to the top dog spot of president or prime minister and really kind of take control over whole nations. We need to be a bit more assertive in some areas to ensure that doesn't
I
happen.
don't think Zen really means passivity. And I think the way, if you look back, you know, the ways, like in Japanese society, the way Zen was taken on by the samurai class shows that it's a tool, it's a way of seeing the world. It doesn't mean that it's not a passiveness, it's more of a perspective of keeping in mind the whole picture.
Maybe I'm getting it slightly muddled up with meditation techniques like Vipassana, where you really train yourself to let go of attachment, and as the thought comes in, you let it pass, and you're just like a witness to like the waves on the ocean.
But if you are, sometimes when you if you're not full of thoughts that keep interrupting, it means that action can be more pure. That was the thing with, like, I guess a warrior, samurai warrior, was that the Zen was part of them being able to just act without, and there's a thing that my friend Tang taught me about called Zan Shin, which is a concept of awareness in a movement, of being fully committed to our world and our reality in a moment. And that's especially, you know, relevant in a society where everyone's distracted and we end up with what you're saying. We end up with mads controlling societies. So yeah, you know,
I know.
I think the world would be a lot better place. Personally, because I think people would act together for greater goods.
We'll call that a wrap.
Yeah.
That's looking forward to your next album.
Yeah, coming soon. Main Streets. Later in the year, 2022.
This one.
Put it in your car.
What?